Hi, Spencer here. Welcome to the weekly Facebook Live. Today I know it's a bit late, right? But I have to start adapting to the US time zone. Just doing this Facebook Live. Okay, before I start, let me just say that next week I'll be heading off to the US for 1 month. Right, so a lot of interesting research, right, as well as a holiday, right, that I'll be doing. During the 1 month, I will be not only will I continue updating my blog, right, I'll also be continuing doing the Facebook Live. But more importantly, I'll be testing out something really interesting, right, and I'll share more about it when I'm back. Okay, so for today, I have 5 main market updates to share, right? And then after that, I'm going to talk a bit about this structural change, right? Which I think might be happening, right? Because in the last this week, actually, and the last week, I've been spending time meeting a lot of people, right? So for those of you, who met me for the one-to-one consultation chit chat, right? I had a great time learning, right, from you as well, and as well as sharing my trading experiences. So when I come back, right, I'll try to meet up with more people, right, because I had to reject some people because my schedule was too packed. I was meeting like 5-6 people a day. It was very tiring, but I think it's a really good learning experience, right? So over time, I'll try to share some of the key things that I've learned. Okay, so to the market updates. So the first thing is the crypto, right? So crypto, if you've been following the last few updates, crypto has been going up a lot, right? And recently, Bitcoin has come close to hitting the 10K. Ethereum has reached 700 plus, right? I think almost 800. So it has gone up quite a bit, right? So when I was observing the chart, I noticed that there's starting to be some kind of weakness, right? Maybe people are starting to take profits, right? So just a few days ago, I actually posted the warning, right, in my private forum, right? So I mainly am holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, right? These two, right? They account for the bulk of my portfolio at the moment, right? So these two counters, I felt that they're going to have some correction, right? There might be some correction, so I posted a warning, got out, right, saying that I'll wait for the prices to stabilize, before going in to buy again, right? So now I'm mainly not holding much of the cryptocurrencies, right, because I think there might be more downside, right? So I'll continue to monitor in the next week. Okay, so as to some people have been asking me, would I recommend Bitcoin or Ethereum more? Right, I'll say between these two currencies, cryptocurrencies, they're actually quite different, because Bitcoin is more of a currency type of coin, right, where the idea is that if you buy it, and it gets adopted widely, then the value will increase, right? So Ethereum is slightly different. It's more of a platform coin, right? So it is more like for people to build apps upon. So the more different apps, or rather more different other tokens are built upon it, the more likely its value should increase, right? So Ethereum, you can think of it as like sort of the app store, right, where the ICOs and application coins are like the apps, right, inside the app store. Okay, so just a simple analogy. So in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, both are quite different, right? So I'm buying both because they sort of help me diversify my portfolio, right? But at the same time, right, if I were to have to pick one, I feel that Ethereum has more upside, right? Simply because if you look at in terms of percentage gain, right, if both Bitcoin and Ethereum manage to reach their prior high, right, percentage-wise, Ethereum will actually gain a lot more than Bitcoin, right? So for that simple reason, it makes Ethereum more enticing. Okay, so that's it for crypto. For those of you who have already bought, right, might want to take some profits. For those of you who have not, right, keep watching, because the chance to buy, right, might come soon. Okay, so the next thing is with regards to currency, right? So the USD, I've been calling for a buy, right? So those of you who've been buying USD or shorting counters that against USD, right? You have been in the money by now, right? And but now the USD is starting to weaken a bit, right? So you might consider taking some of those profits, right, and reducing the positions or closing them. Okay, and for gold, right, the next thing I'm talking about is gold. So gold is still looking bearish, right, hasn't really dropped yet. Because gold and stocks usually have a sort of inverse correlation, right? So now is what I call the risk on scenario, right? So traditionally, the market, right? So let me just write it down. Okay, so there's this. Okay, so the market, right, is usually in a risk on or risk off scenario. Okay, it looks inverted, right? So that's weird. Okay, anyway, the market is usually in a risk on or risk off scenario, right? So when it's risk on, right, it means that people are willing to take more risk, right? Whereas risk off, people are like more risk averse. So that usually pertains to the climate, the overall climate, right? So just a while back, you saw a lot of negative news, right? Like the trade war, U.S. trade war with China, U.S. Tensions with North Korea, right? So as a result, it creates a lot of uncertainty. People will be more risk off, right? So when risk off, stocks tend to drop. People tend to go into safer assets like maybe gold, or cryptocurrencies, right? But now when you have risk on, right? Because now the trade war thing seems to have died down a little, right? And also now U.S. North Korea, they're meeting, right? They're meeting in Singapore, right? So at least when I go to the US next week, people will stop asking me whether Singapore is in China, right? Because now at least hoping most of the US will know Singapore. Okay, so with that, so it tends to have like a lot of the negative news seems to have sort of gone away for now, right? So people are more bullish, right? So that's why gold is starting to sort of go down a bit. Looking bearish, right? Whereas the stock market, right, is has been starting to pick up, right? Looking bullish, right? Especially the S&P 500. Okay, the STI is still kind of sideways again, right? After bouncing off the top, right? So that's not very exciting, right? But for the US, right, we see that right. So the US actually has been in this like sideways range, right, for a pretty long time over here, right, and then it's sort of consolidating here, right. So finally it has sort of broken up, right. So we're waiting to see if it can continue climbing, all the way to the top, right. So definitely the US market is bullish, right, at the moment, right. So for stocks, I would say it's more bullish. Okay, and for the fifth one, right, is oil, right. So oil, I went in quite a bit last week, and at least during the last call, right. Actually, I've been calling for it for quite a while, right. So I think the position has been for more than a week, right. From the breakout, right, and then I've been adding on as it continued to go up, right. So now I'm just holding on to my existing positions, right. It's actually quite a lot in the money, right. So I've been trailing my stop loss, and just seeing how high oil can continue to go, right. So these are the 5 main asset classes. Okay, so that's actually kind of the key things that you can look out for next week, or at least this week, right? Since today is Monday, right? So I also like to share a bit about what I learned during my week this week and last week, right? Meeting people. So one common theme that I hear a lot, is the whole thing about technology, AI, blockchain, data analytics. How is it going to disrupt, right, the industry? Because I've met many people, entrepreneurs, people working jobs, or people in the banking industry, the accounting, the tech industry, right? People doing trading, right? So you realize that there are many disruptions going on in the different industry, right? So personally, I feel that it's time to upgrade my skills, right? So I was talking to one young chap, right, who's doing a finance degree, right? And when I think back to to the years when I was doing my finance degree, right? So I graduated about 7 years ago, right? So I think back the time that I did my degree, it was just like finance degree was just pure finance, right? We learn about numbers, corp finance, right? But there was almost no focus on technology, right? The closest thing you get maybe is learning how to use Excel spreadsheet, right? But now when I talk to someone, about the curriculum of their finance degree, they are talking like it's like kind of like 50% finance, and 50% is on fintech, right? So they'll be they'll be learning about things like blockchain, AI, robo advisors, right? So it's kind of like really really different, from what I learned last time, right? So it's a bit sad because it kind of like makes my degree useless, right? But then on the other hand, I realized that there's always continuous learning, right? So recently I've been learning a lot, reading up a lot on like blockchain, AI, fintech, right? Data analytics, right? Also because last year, I started my own, one of the businesses I started is a accounting practice, right? So we do a lot of, we do like bookkeeping, financial, preparation of financial statements, tax, right, for our clients, right? But recently we've been doing a lot, getting requests to do like data analytics, right? For example, after you get all the financial data, how do you use that data to improve your business, right? For example, what are the bottlenecks? How do you optimize your inventory? How do you what kind of technology should invest in, right? So a lot of this data analytics can be used to solve business problems, right? Which is really useful, right? So for those of you who have businesses, feel free to approach me as well, right? I believe we have one of the most competitive rates, right? For like accounting, services, right, as well as consultancy and analytics. Okay, so yeah, so a lot of people are worried about these continuous disruptions, right, that are going on, in the industry, right? Which means that for us, right, we need to really keep learning, new skills, right? So I'm looking at some really exciting projects coming up, right, especially in the realm of trading as well. Okay, so one last important thing, right, that I want to share with you is the idea of structural change, right? Because as we all know, right, in the stock market, right, traditionally we always talk about like a 10-year cycle, right, in the stock market. Right, so the stock market, right, has always been, kind of like moving in this cycle, right? So maybe there's up and down every 10 years, right? It completes one cycle and goes up and down, right? So if we think about the last crash was like in 2008, right? So that means that kind of like it's been 10 years, right? But the market hasn't really shown signs that it's going to have a big crash, right? So personally, as an investor, I want the easiest strategy, right? If you have no knowledge at all, right, the easiest strategy is really to just buy low and sell high, right? And by buying low, meaning you buy at the bottom of the cycle, right, after the market crash, that's the best time to buy, right? So a lot of it is a waiting game, right? Patiently waiting to accumulate stocks after the market crash, right? Unfortunately, the market hasn't crashed in a long time, right? And people are kind of getting impatient, right? So it led me to think, is it possible that one possibility, right, is that we are on the edge of a quantum leap, right, in productivity? Because if you think about it, this tech revolution, right, where machines, you have a lot of automation, a lot of AI, right, it could lead, right, into sort of a next. It could result in a quantum leap, right, in productivity, in business output, right? So if that happens, right, the market may not crash, right? So what might happen, right? Right, so what might happen, right, is that we might see the market transit, right, into a new range, right, one that is more, has a higher average productivity, right, a higher So if a business productivity goes up, right, it translates into the stock prices, because overall the market will be bullish, right? So if that happens, that is a kind of we need to take note of it, because if this happens, that means that the market is not going to have a crash, right? Which means that if you're waiting to buy and hold, waiting for it to crash to buy, then you may not have that opportunity, right? So a lot depends on how strong, right, is the market now, right, and whether it is going to have this quantum leap, right, that moves the market into a new range, right? So this will be deemed as like a structural change, right? And this happens, we could see another bull run for another 10 years, right? And so what I'm really thinking of now, is whether I'm trying to evaluate the likelihood of this happening, right? So that's one of the reasons why next week, right, when I travel to Silicon Valley, I'm going to meet up with a lot of my friends, in Facebook, Twitter, Uber, Oracle, right? Because I really want to sort of know what is, what are the latest developments, right? And how likely is it, how strong, right? How far ahead, right, is the technology and the applications, right? Whether these will be able to translate, right, into businesses, because currently the stocks that are currently doing a charge are mainly the tech stocks, right? So we need to see whether the other businesses are able to adapt these new technologies, right, into their businesses, right, and whether we will see that reflected in the stock prices. Okay, so I think that's something that is very interesting, that I'll leave you all to go and read up more, right, to digest more, right? So hopefully the next I'll probably do one more Facebook live, right, before I leave, right, maybe on Sunday, and when I'm in the US, right, I'll try to do more Facebook lives, right, depending if I have the time, right, and whether they allow me to do it inside the Facebook HQ, right, but that'll be interesting, right? So just take note, right, of some of the things that I've shared, right, regarding the crypto, the currency, stocks, oil, gold, right, because every day, or every week, right, there'll be trading opportunities, right? So the key as a trader is you want to pick the best few trades, to take, right, and by taking the best few trades, leave it to run, right, so that you don't have to monitor the market, and you can still go ahead, your own life, right, you're doing your job, doing your hobbies, doing your business, right, and treat it as sort of just a side income, right, and it's also kind of like a fun hobby, right, to be able to monitor the different instruments. So with that, right, come to the end of these short Facebook live sessions, right? So going forward, I hope to have maybe more regular updates, right? Maybe shorter videos, right? More bite-sized nuggets of sharing. Okay, so with that, all right, I'll see you next week. Cheers.